We were just talking about like the industry as a whole, and like, kind of when you look around here, like the differences in everybody that you see, like how much diversity there is from like where people come from, how they got into the business, like the background of all of it. Like some people are second generation, some people started it from nothing, some people, are even like, Carla's business is 53 years old, I think, or something like that. But what I said is there's like a common ground that like everybody that finds this industry. It'd be an interesting question for you because you're kind of like me, like you just found this out of the blue.
Right.
And but for me, my dad was a steel worker, and so like, and I spent most of my career as a corporate guy, and then I came into this industry, and like it just instantly felt like home to me. Like I was working alongside of people that were more like me than I felt
Gotcha.
in those office environments. And so the question I would ask is like, what do you identify with most in the industry? Like, what do you feel like that common ground is for you? And then what are you most proud of to be part of it? Start with you, Tyler.
I identify probably most as just the blue collar side of it. I mean, my dad started the company. Some people get the silver spoon. I did not. I started laboring from 13, 14 years old and worked my way into sales, now into management. So I've seen all sides of it, and I truly connect with the working aspect of it. I mean, it's not an easy industry by any means, but it's definitely rewarding in a sense.
I can confirm Tyler got more of the rusty spoon than the silver spoon.
Yeah.
Here's a shovel, kid. Have at it. Yeah, have at it. How about you, man? The short time that you've been here, like what do you see? What attracted you to it? And then what do you identify with the most being in here?
I mean, what attracted me most was, it was easy to come work with one of your best friends, right? That was kind of the easy thing to do. But like meeting all these guys, we're all the same, right? It's weird. We just connect. I've connected with, Garen and Tyler and Marvin and all these guys, and we just connected, you know what I mean? Like there's just vibe, and I feel that energy. And I've just always been a people and energy person. So I feel like just in any industry, I'm going to just connect because that's just kind of who I am, right? And so, but as far as like what I've felt with you and and what you got going on, the movement, leadership, right? You got some good direction, and I really feel that energy from you guys. So
yeah, it's cool, man. I think that idea of like working along your best friend. Like we had Mikey and Bob from the radio in here yesterday. They've been best friends since they were 8. Wow. And they've done the radio together for 20 years. And so most people automatically think like, oh man, that's going to create some conflict at some point. Mm-hmm. And like, Mike and I are best, we met each other in work, but like we're the best of friends now. And like, we don't argue.
Right.
I mean, probably maybe once in 6 years have we had any kind of like heated discussion.
Yeah.
And, it just doesn't happen. And so, like, I think people's misconception is that, too. It's like, well, it has to be conflict. It's like, no, it really doesn't. Like, right. Business is as simple or as complicated as we want to make it.
Sure. Yeah. We spent a lot of time not working together. I spent a lot of time letting him do his thing and I did my thing. Mm-hmm. And we've always talked about working together. But I was, like, always afraid of what people would say, like, these guys are going to end up splitting off and never. Well,
you don't want to lose your friend.
Correct.
Right? The friendship's more important than the
we
business.
always talked about that. I said, man, I'm not going to lose a 25-year-old friend over business.
I think though. Like I've got a buddy that like if I was in business with like, we would end up not being friends.
100%.
I know that, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there's also friends that I would love to go to battle with, right?
Right.
And that's what you got to determine. How about you, man? Like you've been in this. I don't know. This is pretty much like you've done this most of your life, right?
Yeah. Kind of like the term, like Matt stuff, raised on blacktop, man. I started off with striping, and what I take away from all of this is the people, is how we are similar. As an entrepreneur, you have to be dynamic, right? You have to have a sales side of you. You have to have of course, the hustler, grinder, labor part of you. You have to do it all. So I relate, or I'm just a people person as well, just to piggyback off of what he said. I relate to a lot of people in what we do, and keeping that humility in as you grow in the position, right? You you still, just like the term goes, you shake the janitor's hand the same way you shake the next CEO, right? When you're around people like this, and even within my own company, you realize the respect that there is, because people move up, it's not always got a big head or this is happening. You know, we kind of keep that culture like, oh, he earned this position. It's respectful. You know, I take that. You know, that's what I like to take away from it. So I would say just just being a people person.
Yeah, I just want to say this to you too, man. It's been how many years you've been? 3 years part of TCS, I think, something like that.
Yeah, right. I think I missed just the first.
Yeah, so maybe
very
4
first one,
years.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know, you meet somebody, you get to know them, and like, you know, you think like, well, how, you know, every person takes a different path, like when it comes to learning and evolving. And I just want to say this, like, I think I've said it to you before, but to put it on record on camera is like, I'm just super proud of you for like how thirsty for knowledge you are, and like
Absolutely.
how open you are to changing, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that, you know, people that have your type of personality aren't always that way. Like you're a hard charger, right? And like, so to have that balance, it's like lightning in a bottle. And then you add another person in there that's like, you know, your boy that's probably going to duplicate that same. If it's not natural for you, you'll emulate that behavior. And like, so I'm excited to see what's to come for ABC in the next couple of years, man. 'Cause
likewise,
it's gonna be
man.
wild.
The way I look at it is, I mean, is like you said, open to change. I'm willing to try something new. If there's a better way to do things, it's like, let's do it. But if it doesn't work out, then let's go back to what has been making us good, right? But we're always trying to search for a new avenue to take us away from what we've constantly been doing, right? And if we can move on from that, then great. But if we can't, then we stick to what's been making us the money or, you know, even the company, just building the company year after year. So,
Well, my mentor for the last 15 years, my old boss, he always told us, if you're not growing, you're dying. And if you're not evolving, you're going to get left behind, right? And so that's always stuck with me, is like, don't get comfortable, right? Comfort kills everything, right? And so don't get comfortable, because the industry will evolve and leave you behind if you're not looking forward and looking down that. You know, it's funny, it's a good analogy for us now. You know, if you're driving down the road and you see a pothole, what are you going to do? You're going to avoid it. But if you're not paying attention and looking down the road, you're going to run right through it.
Bend the rim, bro.
That's right.
Bend the rim.
That's right.
Yeah, it's such an interesting perspective. You know, leadership is one of the things that, you know, everything rises and falls on. What's been the toughest thing about leadership for you?
I guess growing into the role that I am, I don't want to necessarily overstep my dad until he's ready for me, and I know that's not fully right either. But learning my place and what I can offer our guys, our gals, from a leadership perspective, because I'm kind of like a middleman between a lot of like upper management and the field, and it's a lot of responsibility, but I enjoy doing it.
The dynamic of the family structure is like one of the most interesting things for me, because I don't have it, right? I don't have, you know, that family stuff inside of here. You know, my kids love coming here, but I don't have anybody that, you know. And so what I've learned is that there's a lot of arguments, and families are taught to not argue. You know, like it's kind of like that. We're not supposed to argue. Like, this is my dad, or this is my brother, or this is my. It's like, no. Like, you gotta, as much as you can, take that family hat off and like be willing to argue, because you're not arguing with the person, you're arguing for change in a business, you know. And so you got to be able to like take that emotion out. And dude, it's hard for me to tell the truth sometimes, because it's people I love on our team, and I know that what I'm going to say is going to hurt them. And so I have just an immense amount of respect for you guys that do it with your families, and like how hard that is. But my advice would be, think about that when you're in the moment. Like, be willing to argue to help both of you, right? Like to help everybody.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to hurt people's feelings. And, you know, in our case, it's, you know, people that work here, but they're like, you know, family to me. But it's different when that's been your caretaker, your person from, you know, from day one. And, you know, so the leadership aspect for you guys is unique. How about you, man? What's the hardest thing about leadership?
The people, right? It's like, I think it's one of my greatest strengths, but also my biggest weakness is falling in love with people.
You're a softie.
I'm a softie, and it's hard to make those difficult decisions, you know, when you have to hold, well, I can hold people accountable, but it's like when you make those relationships and you really start investing in people and having to make that decision to either let them go or, you know, like I said, hold them accountable. I mean, it's tough to make changes, you know, and that's always been kind of one of my weaknesses, but also, you know, my strengths. I always ask people every morning I walk through the office, good morning to every single person. I don't care who you are, you know, what mood I'm in. I walk in and I say good morning to everybody. I want to see how their weekend went. I ask them about their family. I ask them about how they're feeling, right? And I think that, you know, when you get to a certain level in leadership, you kind of, you pull back a little bit from doing those little things, but those are the little things that matter. And so I think that's, like I said, that's my strength, but then it's also my weakness because when it's time to get down to business, I go, man, I know their family, you know, letting them go may be, you know, a difficult choice for me, but, you know, that's something I definitely have to work on.
Oh, dude, I got a long list of people that I've seen more in than they see in themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a hard part of leadership. It's like you can't pull it out. You got to be willing to let it go.
Right.
Yeah.
How about you?
Hardest part of leadership for me is
Working with your best friend?
yeah, no, that's actually been fun, but I would say it's imposter syndrome. Not thinking that you're good enough to be a leader. I've been reading a lot of books on leadership. That How to Be a Billionaire or
How to Make a Few Billion
How to Make a
Dollars?
Few $1 billion. That was a really good book, man. Thank you. I'm not through with it, but I'm reading it right now, and that's been a good help. I like that book, and you know, as an entrepreneur, you fall into this place of like, am I good enough? Am I getting this done right? Am I taking care of everybody? Because I'm a people pleaser within my own company, right? You want to make sure everybody's happy and doing their thing right. They're comfortable, so that in turn they can produce, right? But it's tough because you don't know if you're doing it right. You know, it's just like parenting for the first time, right?
I can tell you this, man, because I have the same thing. I think it's connected to staying humble, in my opinion. It's like if you're not a humble person, you might lose that. Like you might think, yeah, I'm good enough. But if you're a humble person, like you're gonna have that imposter syndrome. Every person that I've met, whether it's, you know, somebody that has nothing or somebody that has billions of dollars, they're still figuring it out too. And that's what I always tell myself when I have those moments of uncertainty, like, man, if people knew like what I really am like some days, you know, like they wouldn't trust me as much, you know, like it's like, dude, everybody has that day.
Yeah.
Everybody has that day where nothing goes right. Nothing works. You have, you know, you have a conversation that just goes sideways or whatever it is. And so, yeah, just you're good enough, bro.
Right
I
on,
know
man.
that for sure.
I appreciate that.
I've been around you long enough to know you're a dog and you're going to figure it out. Like
Right.
whatever happens, this dude doesn't get rattled ever.
No.
And that's, you know, if there's one thing you want in a leader, it's somebody with a steady hand in a storm. And you got that for sure, dude.
Right on, man. Thank you.
That's a wrap.
All right.
Good stuff, man.